Spoken about the two components of synchronization. One is your pivot motion, which we've discussed, and the other is what the club, the hands, and the arms are doing. Okay, and you know the thing is, when you look at a swing, you generally tend to look at what the club is doing. You may see some weight transfer, some explosiveness with the hips and so on, but really we've got to marry the movement of the club with the movement of the body for this synchronization to really work. And this is the whole essence, the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the A swing, to simplify the motion going back in order to get in the right position coming down, because that's where it counts, folks. Get the club in the right position coming down and you can hit the ball consistently. Simple as that. But say the backswing is such a problem for so many people. Now the thing that I call pure swing is this: if I grab the club with 2 fingers and a thumb and just swing it back, you'll notice there's no opening of the club, and that's one of the elements of this A swing. We don't want any rotation. The face, in actual fact, feels pretty closed, and you'll notice because the club is sort of swinging relative to its sweet spot, the club automatically sort of gets up. It's interesting. It doesn't get on one plane as many people try to get into this position. That may be fine for a machine, but you know, we've got joints, plus the fact the golf club is designed, as you see as I do this, to sort of get up in position. And you'll notice, look where the club actually points. It actually points slightly right of target. It doesn't point right down the line. So everybody says you've got to have the club on line. You don't want to get it across the line. But I can tell you, many of the world's greats over the years have actually had the club slightly across the line, going back to Bobby Jones and the great Jack Nicklaus. So having it across the line, in my opinion, really helps, because it actually helps to add what I call life to the swing, or put swing into your swing. So you'll notice as I do this, it's a much steeper look going back than generally is taught, okay, apart from this A swing. And then as I come down, almost gravity, as my body moves, the club falls onto the right plane. And when we talk about the right plane, we're talking in terms of matching it to the angle that the club started at address. Where this club lies is the natural plane. So in effect, as we come down, we want to match that plane, because that's the angle we want the club to come in to the ball at, okay? It's no good, as we see with many people, coming in like this steep over the top look, because now that's going to create a world of slices, okay? If you want to fix a slice, seriously, folks, or you want to get consistent, get the club on the right plane. To me, that's a common denominator with all top players, getting the club onto this plane, which is parallel to the line that it started on. So this movement here, you can see as I do this, it goes up, okay, it shallows, it swings through, it releases. And it's a very simple understanding of what I call true swing is all about, based around the sweet spot of the club. Okay, Ryan, so let's describe it. We've talked about what it does, or what it is. Let's talk about how to do it, okay?
Okay.
All right, now I know you've worked really hard on this, and you were a player who I felt that, you know, the arms tend to get long and run on there, and you lost your sync going back, and then you would somehow try to find it coming down, and there was a lot of timing involved, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I would get shallow on the way down. There wouldn't be a lot of space. I would kind of get jammed, and the club
Stuck, as Tiger likes to say, I'm stuck, right?
Right. And
which means that the club is behind your body and it's hard to catch up.
so, but now, you know, having the V angle helps.
We're going to talk about, he's let out the secret already, folks. Naughty there, right? Okay, you get up to it and we'll talk about this, the V angle, the V plane as we call it. Okay, so first thing is, as he's working it away, very important to actually move it away with your core. Although it looks like my hands and arms are starting it, you really want to have a little shifting of your core. That's why it's important to get in good posture, because you engage your core. So as Ryan does this, you can see the butt end actually works in. It's almost as if the club, or the hands, I should say, the top of the club are moving on its track. That's one track. The other track is where the club head moves on. And what we're trying to create here is a situation where the hands always stay inside the club face. Okay, so inside the club head. Hands in, club out. Now you'll notice the club is still moving inside the target line. If I put this on the ball like so, even though the club head is outside the line of the hands, the club is still going in. One of the biggest areas we see, one of the biggest problems in golf is that golfers insist on swinging the club around behind them like this, and then from here, all hell lets loose. They lift it up over the top, and 1,000,001 faults result as a result of that early start. So as we move back here, we can see At this point, the club face feels, what would you say, closed there, Ryan? Feels closed, or is it you're getting used to it now?
Still, yeah, it's still pointing to the ball.
Right, still looking at the ball. You notice how his right arm is on top of his left arm. It hasn't folded underneath. At this point where the club is just past his right thigh, the right wrist starts to hinge. And with the prayer grip, with the right hand being on top, it's much easier to actually set that angle with that right wrist. So you can see he's setting it. Okay, the left arm is traveling across his body. So the left arm is in, the club is out. It's almost what I call the flat upright backswing. The reason I say that is because his left arm is moving on a flattish plane inside, and we can see at this point there's no rotation with his forearms whatsoever. But because of the steep nature of the backswing of the shaft, so we've got this going flat, this going upright, and we can see this is the perfect model where you get the shaft almost parallel to your spine, almost. So anywhere between here and here would be acceptable. And that's fine, so you don't have to be absolutely perfect. But the key being is that he does this, as he completes his backswing with his wind-up now, the arms are short. And you'll notice at the top of the swing here, look at the angle at the base of his wrists. That's the same angle that he had at address. So he really hasn't altered anything there. At this point, the club is hanging down in a very square position. If I just hung the club across my thumb and forefinger like this, you see that literally is a square club face, if you can see that. So a lot of people say, no, this is square. You have to have the wrists flat, club face hanging parallel to the left arm. But you'll notice here, look at the angles he has here, club slightly across the line. He's also got a little pinch between his right biceps and his chest. You don't want this right arm flying, because the shorter the arm swing is, the better. Now from here, as he starts to move, the club will shallow out into this position. We can see the club face is in a very different position. It almost looks slightly open, but this allows him then to actually rotate his arm down, square the club face off, and go ahead and release it. So let's do that once again, Ryan. Okay. So let's do a little drill here. Just split your hands on the club. This is one of our famous drills here, but we can see, you get the feeling of this. It's like left arm goes in, right arm stays on top, hands are in, club is out. Now look at the angle of the shaft. Appears very vertical, and this is the only area of the swing looks a little different, a little strange. But I tell you, from this angle, face on, it really doesn't appear any different. I mean, because all he's doing is winding up. He winds up here, we can see, and he's got a nice compact swing, even though the club goes back a fair distance. Now as he comes down, it shallows out, and he goes ahead and releases it. And so that's the interesting aspect of this. The backswing is the main feature of the A-swing. It's an alternative backswing to allow him, if you can just swing towards the camera, Ryan, just turn around and swing towards it. And this is the release that we're looking at. We'll notice as he gets to here. Okay, here he is. And we can see, look at the angle of the shaft. I want to talk about the V plane here. So you can look at the angle here. Okay, here's one side of the V. And as he's changed his direction, this is the other side of the V. So this angle to this angle, it adds a lot of life into the swing. It gets the club onto the right plane, as long as his body is doing the right thing through his pivot motion. And then from here, his right elbow drops into his side. This forearm is turning down, it squares the face off, and this is the release. Watch the release here. This is what Ryan is attempting to do. The right hand, very much like throwing a ball, like a shortstop would throw to first base. You can see where my right hand is working. And that's the release that he's looking at, where we see so often people are going here and rolling over like this to try to square the face off. No, that's not the way you want to release it. You want to get to a point where you're here and your right hand does this. And that right hand grip, once again, that you had at address, where your right hand's on top, enables you to get this feeling where this right arm and right hand are really releasing. So you feel probably there, Ryan, when you do this correctly, I know this is something you're working on right now hard, but you almost feel you're looking at the palm of your right hand, correct?
It feels like almost underneath.
Yeah, almost, exactly. You think about it, it's like a hammer throw. If you're throwing it this way, you create a lot more speed than if you just threw it that way. And so this is a great way of feeling this whole deal. So just turn around, face me once more here. So let's have a look at this V plane from this angle. There we go. We can see right arm is on top of the left arm. Really important. Club face feels closed at this point. Okay. Left arm in, across his chest. The right wrist sets. There we go. So arm swing feels short. it actually feels like the left arm never gets above the shoulder plane. Okay, the lower you can keep your left arm, the better. The shorter the distance this travels, the better. It's a more direct route to the top. Here's the other side of the V. Back in position. We can see the club now getting back down in front of you here, where you can go ahead and release it around the circle. Okay, it's almost like a big hula hoop. It comes back down on the hula hoop from this direction, up the hula hoop in this direction. The big thing with this A swing, it is so much more efficient, right? If you just set up to it here, what we found out in our biomechanical studies is the butt end of the club travels about 20% less than a conventional swing. So let's show you the conventional move. So here we go, it goes back here, club face opens slightly, okay, gets on plane. So and all the while we're sort of measuring where the butt end goes, and then we get to the top, okay, there we are. Now, watch what Ryan does now, the butt end, look at the journey it's traveling to get almost to the same point. And that's the key to being efficient. You don't want your arms running away from you. You can relax there. Okay. We don't want the arms running away from you. The shorter the distance the butt end can travel, the more likely it is to match your pivot motion. And that is synchronization there, folks. The fact that, okay, that you get to this point, you're wound up there, you've maximized your coil, shall we say. The arm swing is short, it's nice and compact. As you move down, the arms are following what the body's doing. You're in position here to go ahead and release it. And that, in essence, is what this A swing is all about. This inverted look with the backswing to create this shape to this shape. Thinking, let me borrow your bat here, okay? Because I'm going to talk about a batter in baseball. Where do they have the bat? They don't start from here, they start from there. Okay, then as their pitch is coming, they start to move their body, and what does the bat do? The bat now flattens out onto the plane the pitch is coming on. The right elbow gets in front, and pow, they release it. So this has a baseball component to it. So it goes from steep to shallow, and we're not suggesting you lift the arms. You want your left arm across your chest. You want this upright, this flat, if you will, this short, fully set, that right wrist, so by the time you're, I would say, a third of the way back, your right wrist should be fully set, and you're in position then to simply wind up and go ahead and hit it. And I suppose, finally, and we'll get Ryan just to hit a shot here, finally, it's based upon the fact that, look, you get into the right position here, and then all you do is wind your body up and unwind your body. You don't have to really think about what's happening. In the beginning, yes, there's a little thought. But really, we want you to wind your backswing to the top. You finish the backswing by winding, you unwind, and you let it go. So all you're doing is repeating your pivot motion. If you do this, your swing, if you look at the pivot motion within the swing itself when you hit balls, that will look very much like the drill. And as I say to people, if you can actually make your movement here, film it, you look at it, you get the feeling, and then when you actually swing the club, it looks and feels the same way, then you got it. So Ryan, let's hit a shot here. Might want to loosen up just a little bit here. Been standing around for a few minutes. All right, a couple of practice swings. All right, and the one thing we like players to do, Ryan, he's going to hit maybe the first one just in slow motion here, just maybe 50% to give you the feeling. You can almost think your way through the swing by doing this. And remember, what Ryan thinks he does and what he actually does might not necessarily be 100% the same. The great thing with this A swing, as you work towards a model, you will see improvement. You don't have to get there to see this improvement. Work towards it, you'll see improvement. And the fact is, you can never get to a point where you feel your left arm is short enough or you feel like you load the club enough. You can never get to the point, as long as your body's moving correctly, that the club shallows. As long as your body moves correctly, it won't over shallow. We see some good players who do this, but if they're moving correctly, the club shallows and the club actually then gets back in front of them. You can never feel, as long as you're synced up through impact, that you can have enough right hand. Ben Hogan wished he had 3 right hands when he was in the right position to hit the ball. So the beauty of this is you can work towards a model, but yet you can never overdo it, which is fantastic, because with most instruction, it's almost, oh, you overdid it, okay? No chance of overdoing this. Are you loose?
I'm loose.
All right, so let's hit a nice easy one here, about a 50%er, right? So nice and slow, feeling what you're trying to feel. All right, that's a pretty good 50%er. All right, so you want to go at one a little harder now?
Sure.
So making lots of practice swings. You don't have to hit a million balls. You know, the one thing, and you'll see we've got these 7 minutes to better golf. Okay, so it's catchy, but really it works. There's 6 little exercises we'll talk about which actually helps you develop this ace swing. And I'm so excited about it. You can probably tell in my voice because I know it helped. We've done 2 years of study with every level of player from beginner to tour player, and the results have been overwhelmingly positive. And I can tell you, if you work at this a little bit, despite what your friends say, oh look, you know, look where Adam Scott is, look where Ernie Els is. Yeah, they're great athletes. And hey, Ryan's a great athlete, but you know, he wanted something simpler. If you want something simpler that's going to work, where you get minimal practice and maximum benefit, the ace swing is for you. Let's hit one more, Ryan. See him rehearsing it there.